The MVP of next year's basketball team might not be who you think it is.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Sunny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day of the orange and blue. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button on this episode. I promise you it's a good one. And just make sure you're already subscribed, as it's my goal to hit 5,000 subs on YouTube in time for the kickoff. Today's episode, I thought we'd have a little bit of fun. It looks like, for the most part, that the Illinois roster is essentially done. Of course, there's that little percentage chance that Will Riley doesn't work out in the NBA draft camps and he decides to come back. But he wouldn't necessarily apply to today's topic anyway. So what I wanted to discuss was, obviously, Illinois, almost half the roster is going to be new faces. And of course, the online joke is a lot of them are from Europe. But what I wanted to do is just kind of go through each prospect and at least pick out who I think might have the biggest impact on next year's roster. And for that, I also wanted to bring on friend of the show, friend of your host, JR, from the Big Ten Huddle and the Writing Illini, official Illini content creator. JR, thanks for coming on.
Hey, I appreciate it. Listen, the Illini community has been great to me. I was writing for the Ohio State website of Fansided as well, and I was just telling you, I get way more views, way more clicks from the Illinois fan base than I do from the Ohio State one. So I'm not converting just yet. However, it's getting tempting. I need an Illinois hat back here. I got the Ohio State, I got the Indiana. I can get rid of the AAA team there. I can get an Illinois hat.
I'll send you over one of these Locked On Illini hats. How about that?
Let's do it.
Let's do
it. Yeah.
All right, Jared. So what we're going to do today, you and I talked about this a little bit before. There's going to be a few new faces on this Illini basketball team next year. And, it's the offseason, right? So now it's just kind of let's put our feet up on the desk and have some fun and banter back and forth. Make some predictions that no one's going to hold their feet to the fire to. It's early May. It doesn't ultimately matter. But today's topic I wanted to discuss, and I wanted your opinion. I'll let you go first. Is out of all the newcomers to next year's basketball team, who do you think is, and you can define it however you want. You can say he's going to be the best newcomer on the team, or maybe the most, he's going to have more impact than anyone else thinks.
Yeah, so I'm doing a list of the most impactful transfer addition or newcomer addition to the Big Ten, I guess I should call it, for every Big Ten team video on the Big Ten Huddle. And obviously we're going to be talking about that in the second segment as well. However, the one that I picked for Illinois, I did focus more on impact. Being honest, these guys are all playing in different leagues, all going to different places. I have no idea who's the best. They're all doing really, really well from where they're at. So I'm just going to say they're all really good, but the guy that I feel like is coming in and going to make the biggest impact right away with his skill set, what he brings to the team and filling a hole for this team is, it's obvious, but it's Andrej Stojakovic, right? That is who I'm picking. His usage rate at Cal was super high. I don't envision him being another 28% usage rate. I just think you have too many players and too many, scorers, playmakers on this team for that to happen. However, he's going to have another high usage rate this season because he's going to be, in my mind, the primary option as a scorer. Now, maybe that doesn't mean that he is the leading scorer on the team, but he's going to be at least second or third, and he's going to be the guy that I feel like this team goes to when they need a bucket, whether that's, they're in a drought, they don't have very many points right now, whether that's, they're late in the game and they need somebody to get a bucket for them. We'll see, but I'm not so much concerned about his playmaking ability and needing to get assists. However, he did did have almost 2 assists per game last year. That's pretty good for a wing role where he was scoring as much as he was. But at the end of the day, I think it's good for him that his usage rate will go down because those turnovers, he was averaging over 2 per game. But also another sneaky part of his game, Sonny, he was averaging 4 fouls drawn per game last season. And how many times did we talk about how Illinois needs to get to the bucket, they need to get to the free throw line, slow things down, collect themselves? Andrej Stojakovic can be that guy for them, this team. I think he's going to be huge, and I think he's going to be the most impactful newcomer to the Illinois squad next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the safest pick. This was the big fish that this Illinois team was waiting for all offseason long. I really like the pieces that Brad was building as a foundation, including not just the newcomers, but the pieces that were staying, like Tomislav and Kylan Boswell. But this team is not a potential top 15 or potential top 10 team without finally landing a guy like Andrej Stojakovic. So, yeah, I think that's probably the right answer. I'm going to go in a slightly different direction, though. And this might be a bit of a surprise to others, but the more I'm watching of Mihailo Petrovic, the more I'm really, really liking. I think with him, his signing came out of nowhere, and I genuinely mean that. There's no content creator out there that even gave us any smoke about Petrovic signing with the Illini. The only time I'd even heard of his name is when he was supposed to sign with the Wisconsin Badgers. So I'd actually had a conversation or two with the Locked On Badgers host, Ryan Herrings, about Mihailo, but never in my wildest dreams did I think he would come and wear orange and blue next year. But the more tape I'm watching on him now, because obviously I'm trying to catch up, I'm trying to understand who this kid is, the more I'm kind of impressed. When Petrovic essentially committed to the Illini, it came out of nowhere, but I don't think it got the fanfare that it deserves because Stojakovic was on his official visit to the Illini at the time. And a lot of people were saying this was just kind of bait to reel Stojakovic in. So I don't think the excitement that this signing deserves was quite there. But this kid is 22 years old. And, when it comes to the guys he's going to be playing against in the college basketball level, he's going to be older than most all of them. And he has multiple years of eligibility remaining. Look, he's an MVP candidate where he was at, averaging 14.3 points per game, 7.3 assists per game, which is second in the entire league, shooting at 50%, 34% from three-point land, and 70% from the free throw line. I honestly think that before the season's over and probably just maybe a month or two in, Petrovic is going to be the starting point guard on this basketball team. And this does not mean I'm thinking that Boswell is going to struggle in any sort of way. I just think I don't think Petrovic is 6'3". Like, if I'm going to be completely fair, after watching all this tape that I've been watching on YouTube and whatnot, I think he's probably closer to 6'1". I think Boswell's the bigger guard. And last year, I think when Kylan Boswell was the primary playmaker early in the season when Kasparis got hurt, he struggled. The team struggled. And I know Kylan played his butt off in that last month and he really turned things around. But I just think that immediately Petrovic is already the best passer on the team. And he's one of those players which also last year's team lacked. It's what Terrence Shannon Jr. was so good at. And what you kind of mentioned earlier about Andrej Stojakovic. Mihailo is one of those guys who can put his head down and just attack the rim and just cause havoc on the opposing defense. Look, he's not much of a defender himself. And I certainly have my worries and my causes for concern for when he's playing on the defensive end. But I genuinely do think, look, I'll say this again. I genuinely feel like I was the first one last year, maybe only a month into the season, who said that Tomislav Ivisic was going to be was the MVP of last year's basketball team. Now all the content creators out there are saying it. Right now, if I'm seeing the season play out in my head the way I am, I think Mihailo could low-key be that guy. Because the reason I thought Ivisic was our MVP last year is because I don't know if the team had anybody that could do what Tommy did if Tommy got hurt. This year, it's kind of the same boat. I think Petrovic might be the only natural point guard that this team has. And I just think he's going to offer a skill set that this team desperately needs. And I think right now, because his recruitment came out of nowhere and his commitment came in the shadows of Stojakovic, I think Illini fans aren't giving this the due credit that it deserves.
I'm right there with you. I seriously debated on Petrovic as well for two of the main reasons that you mentioned there. One, I don't think the true point guard role is valued as much as it should be in college basketball today. You see a lot of teams just try to throw out there, a good ball handler and let them work and then get the ball to the score. I mean, my first thought is Wisconsin last year. They tried to make Max Klesmit the point guard there, and it just didn't work because Max Klesmit's not a point guard. He's a two guard. He's a combo guard. He can play point guard for you, but that wasn't his. He's not a true point guard to be able to do that. And Kylan Boswell is a little bit like that. I think if he devotes himself to true point guard, he can be serviceable in that area. And I'm not trying to say that as an insult. I think he can do a good job. But when you're also asking Kylan Boswell to be your primary defender, look, there's a reason why Purdue doesn't put Braden Smith on the best team or on the best player on the other team on defense. Now, is Braden Smith, a little bit of an underrated defender? I think so. He's really aggressive with what he does, getting steals and stuff. But at the same time, you can't ask somebody to be your floor general, your primary ball handler, and your primary defender on the other end and play 40 minutes a game. It just doesn't work. Nobody has that stamina to do that. So I love the pickup of Petrovic for Kylan Boswell, and I love it because I think Brad is getting closer to the true point guard role, which is something that I think he's been missing over the past couple of years. We saw how things changed with Domask, who really wasn't a true point guard, but he devoted himself to it and really took on that role and did a good job with it.
Yeah, I just think the narrative for most of the offseason, and it's understandable, and I've said it myself, is Kylan Boswell is going to take over the point guard role. But again, I just think it's people aren't paying as close attention to Petrovic as, maybe someone like me who, let's be fair, my livelihood depends on knowing what these players are going to look like next year. So yeah, maybe I've done a little bit more deep diving, but I just think with the experience that he brings, we all, at least Illini Nation, last week saw his game winner that he pulled up against David Mirkovic's team. You want that swagger. You want that confidence at the end of the game. Last year, we had that with Kasparis. I wasn't sure who's going to be that guy on next year's team. It very well could be Andrej Stojakovic. He certainly has the talent. But Mihailo has the experience. Again, 22 years old. I think he's got the quickness. And I just think that there's a level of maturity about him that I don't think is getting enough credit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if there's still people out there saying Kylan Boswell is going to be the primary ball handler, I mean, I see what you're saying. However, just watch Mihailo Petrovic's game. Watch what he's able to do. Watch his first step. Oh my gosh, dude, the quickness that he has with his first step coming off with the ball and off ball as well with what he's able to do. He is going to be in a like Holiday World. Well, I guess that's an Indiana thing. He's going to be in an amusement park with with both Big Z and Big T out there. Can you imagine them screening for him after his first step? Like, I really, really like what Brad has done with this team. I think there's a lot of skilled players, and I think they fit together very well. And I like that he's not relying on Big Z to be a starter in this situation. Can Big Z be a starter? Sure. He could, but I think you bring in Mirkovic, you have Kylan Boswell. Just this team seems to fit together so well. And to me, I love it. I think Brad Underwood's done a great job. They just have to prove it on the floor now.
I'm curious on your guys' thoughts. Let me know. Do you think Andrej Stojakovic is going to be the best newcomer? Is he going to have the biggest impact? What are your guys' thoughts on Petrovic? It could be Mirkovic. It could be Big Z. Just let me know in the comment section. I'm going to go over some of these and maybe do it. Just read aloud comments at the end of a future episode. So I'm very curious on your guys' thoughts. Obviously, Illinois has brought in a lot of new talent. Who do you think is either going to be the best one or the most overlooked as of right now? There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge, and it's electric in the arena and with Gametime. You can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as a tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. The all-in pricing means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. And welcome back to Locked On Illini. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and share this episode with some of your friends. Whether you're old roommates from when you're back in Champaign or just fans of the football team or the basketball team. We're trying to continue to grow this community. By the way, our Discord has over 300 members in it. I can't even believe it. Illini fans from all across the country just having one central place to just talk Illini sports all day. So that's something you're interested in, just look for the link that should be in the description and come join the Locked On Illini community. All right, JR, obviously Illinois is the popular team to talk about, of course, on this show, but even in general when it comes to newcomers. But in today's college basketball world, almost every team has a handful of newcomers. So I'm going to kind of give you the floor here and let you you can just kind of tell me who the biggest names are entering the conference on each individual team.
Yeah, and big thing here is entering the conference. So if they are transferring within the conference, I am not naming them on this list. This is going to be a video that I post either tomorrow or tonight or tomorrow, one of the two. It just depends on when I get around to actually recording it. However, I'll start from the bottom. You let me know if there's a name that you want me to pause on. We can discuss a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So starting at number 18, actually he's a freshman this season because he's a only recruit I have on this list. Caden Mingo, Penn State, followed by Chancey Willis Jr., Minnesota. I'm going to botch the name, forgive me. Unias Jaru Sevasius. I'm surprised he's not an Illinois player with that name. Nebraska. Darren Buchanan, Rutgers. Elliot Cadeau, Michigan.
So let's talk Elliot Cadeau real quick.
Okay.
I don't like this pickup. I know Michigan's very popular. It's a very trendy pick, especially after they took Morez Johnson, and obviously there's potential of them getting Yaxel, but I still don't. I think they honestly genuinely downgraded the point guard position. And for me, the fact that, a lot of people have Michigan ahead of Illinois and all these, I understand preseason rankings are worthless, but even of the conference, to me, I think I get it, but you're kind of just banking on Dusty May being a really, really good basketball coach, because when it comes to guys on the court, I think they're a good team. I think they're a top 5 Big Ten team, but I'm not ready to pencil them in at number 2 right behind Purdue.
Well, if they get Yaxel Lindeberg, they are a top 5 team. Sure. But the reason I left him off this list is I don't think he's going to Michigan. I think Dusty May paid him a good amount of money to at least commit to Michigan and get them some of the hype. That would not be the craziest thing that's ever happened in the transfer portal. You do your own research to find out crazier stuff that's happened. However, I would not put it past that at all for that to happen. I think Elliot Cadeau is the backup plan in case Yaxel Lindeberg doesn't go there as the primary playmaker for the team. Now, Elliot Cadeau, pretty good passer. I think that's important to realize, but of all the guys on this list that I have, he is other than Mingo, because he's a true freshman this next season, he is the only one that averaged less than 10 points per game for their team. I would say a Demara or Morez Johnson would be more impactful players if they were newcomers to the Big Ten, but overall, Elliot Cadeau, good playmaker, but he is not the scorer that I think Michigan needs him to be, especially if Yaxel Lindbergh doesn't come back, because I don't see a high-level scorer on this team without him. I don't see shooting on this team, even with Yaxel Lindbergh. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a concern. They must really be banking on Morez Johnson not being Kofi Cockburn, because, that would just be the worst thing in the world.
All right, who else do you got there?
All right, so starting at 13, right after Cadeau, Jaden Reed, Northwestern, Jacob Ognisevich, Washington, Chad Baker, Mazzara, USC, TK Simpkins, Oregon, Christoph Tilley, Ohio State, Trey Fort, Michigan State, Elijah Saunders, Maryland, Lamar Wilkerson, Indiana, Oscar Clough, Purdue.
Let's stop there.
Okay.
I hate this. I hate saying this because, I tried to keep positive comments about Purdue to an absolute minimal on the show, but when they got Clough, I mean, this is exactly what that team needed last year.
Mhm.
And, this is why I hate saying this, but, they're my preseason number one, not just in the Big Ten Conference next year, but in the entire country. I think you mentioned before, obviously, I don't think they have the depth that some other teams might have. But man, their top players are really, really top players. And I really think Clough is going to add something to that basketball team that it sorely needed last year. And I think he's a perfect pairing next to a guy like TKR.
Yeah, as long as he's starting, that's the thing. That's why I only had him 5th on my list, because there's a lot of hype for Daniel Jacobson coming back, coming off the injury there at Purdue as well. So it's not that I don't think Clough will be good. I think Clough is going to be excellent. And if I'm Matt Painter, like, Daniel Jacobson, have fun coming off the bench, because this dude is exactly what this team needed last year. Now they still needed some help for Braden Smith, so that way he wasn't playing 40 minutes a game. They got that in Omar Mayer as well. However, like, this was exactly what the starting lineup needed for Purdue last year. They got it. If Matt Painter starts Daniel Jacobson over him, there must just be some kind of, crazy love that Matt Painter has for dudes over 7 foot, because I'm not trying to insult Daniel Jacobson. I just think Oster Clough is that good. Like, the dude needs to be starting and playing a lot of minutes for this team.
Or the Big Ten's in real big trouble, because Matt Painter saw what Zach Edey did. And if he thinks Daniel Jacobson is the next iteration of that, and Clough is a backup, then it's time to just have the rest of the Big Ten Conference play for second place.
I've seen Jacobson though. He does not have the footwork. He does not have the smoothness of Zach Edey. And I realized that, Zach Edey wasn't the smoothest. He was smooth for 7'3" or 7'4", however tall he was. Okay, let's give him a break here. But yeah, Jacobson, he doesn't seem to have that. I don't think he's going to develop that coming off an injury. But that's just me. All right, ready to continue?
Sure.
All right, number 4, Nick Boyd, Wisconsin. Really like that for the true point guard that I mentioned earlier. That's huge. And then I have Andrej Stojakovic at number 3. Honestly, I would have put Petrovic here as well if I would have done that too. I think they're that close in what they bring to the team. Number 2, Donovan Dent, UCLA, the fantastic New Mexico guard. And then number 1, watch out for this team next year, Bennett Stirtz, Iowa.
Yeah, he would have been number 1 on my list too. I think Bennett's Stirtz. I mean, he's going to be potentially an all Big Ten player, and I think he alone, gives Iowa, a team that's completely rebuilding, obviously under a brand new head coach, the ability to be still a top half Big Ten team. I'm not sure about the surrounding cast behind Stirtz, but I think Stirtz himself is good enough to be able to carry a team even in the Big Ten Conference.
Oh, yeah, he can carry them to the NCAA tournament as long as everything transitions well for him going into this next level of play. It's going to be absolutely, very important for that to happen. Honestly, Sonny, when we were talking about what content we wanted to talk about, I almost said maybe we should talk about the Big Ten having the best point guards in the nation, because with Petrovic, Stirtz, Braden Smith, there's an argument. I don't know if it's right off the bat, because Petrovic is a little bit unknown
Sure.
at this point, and we're gonna sound like real Illinois homers if we start calling him one of the best point guards of the nation.
Sure.
However, I do think by mid-season next year, if Stirtz transitions the way he should, Petrovic, Dent, Braden Smith, obviously, he's going to be really, really good. Nick Boyd, I think, is a very underrated point guard. We could be talking about some of the best point guards in the nation in one conference here next year. Also, Fears from Michigan State as well. He's going to take a jump. There's so many good point guards in this conference, and it really could be the conference with the best point guards in the nation. I have no qualms about saying that could happen.
And usually if you have good point guard play, you have good team play. You need the guards especially when it comes to March. So, this new generation of floor leaders that, the Big Ten seems to be growing, could bode well for the conference to eventually break this stupid streak of not being able to win a national championship. You need good guards, especially in March. And as you said, the Big Ten we're starting to have a crop.
Yeah, it's really beneficial for the Big Ten. I felt like they've gotten to this point now to where I think a few years ago, the Big Ten kind of focused on their big men and making sure they had the correct big men in place, and then they got guards around them. I think there's been a shift lately of the Big Ten, and some of this is guys getting older and staying with the team, but guys staying with the team and the team building around their guard play rather than building around their front court play. You're seeing it this year with Oregon. Ohio State is doing it. Purdue is doing it. Iowa is doing it. Indiana is doing it. Indiana has like nothing but guards on that team, and honestly, I can't blame them for it. I'm talking to Indiana fans right now that are kind of concerned, but I'm like, look, guys, this is gonna be fine. Illinois is really one of the only teams that brought back a big man and said, we're going to build around this guy a little bit. I don't think it's a bad move, though, because I just like Petrovic that much, and I don't think that's a type of player that just only helps Big T. But yeah, the Big Ten has changed, and people's perception of, oh yeah, they're just a bang down low league. It's not the case anymore. There's some really good guard play in this league.
JR, thanks again for coming on. Can you let the crowd here know one more time, outside Locked On Illini, where you've become essentially a weekly guest? We appreciate you. Where else can they find your work?
The Big Ten Huddle, the basketball channel. I'm not posted over there as much just because I do have so much action over on the football channel right now. Got a lot of people wanting to be involved, but I am trying to post at least once a week, once every other day if I can over there. So go and check out. I did an Illinois video over there. Of course, the Illinois fans loved that. Was very positive about their additions, and when you're positive about Illinois, that generally makes people pretty happy in the Illinois sphere. And then on the football channel, come check us out Friday night at 9:00. We have our wrestling bracket for the Big Ten head coaches. That's going to be a lot of fun. If you want a super serious podcast, this one is not for you. But if you're looking just to hang out on a Friday night, listen to some guys kind of joke around about Brett Bielema putting Luke Fickell in a headlock, that's going to be your place to be. Friday night, 9:00 Eastern time, and of course, find me over at Writing Illini. If Brett Bielema wins the wrestling tournament, I might just have to turn that into an article.
Appreciate you, JR.
Thank you.
Did you know Fire TV is also on Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easily as you can stream your favorite show. Look, I'm traveling tomorrow. It'd be so nice that, I got so much to pack as is. I don't want to pack a video game system so this giving me the opportunity to play without packing the console, it's a no-brainer. Just head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. And lastly, I wanted to talk about, I thought it was interesting, at least on Wednesday, news broke that Dame Sarr is going to be visiting Kansas. Now, I know Dame is not going to be in the Illini next year, but I still want to offer a couple thoughts on what I think is one of the strangest recruitments that I remember in a long time. I'm telling you, honestly, for almost 2 months straight, I thought Dame was going to be an Illini. I'm kind of fascinated by how his recruitment has gone, because you heard names like Oregon, you heard names like USC, you heard names like Duke, and of course, Illinois. For a long time, the assumption was he was coming to Illinois. What you didn't hear necessarily was Kansas. And so is it a simple matter of Dame's team and the support group that he has out, basically pricing him out of some of the other teams that were interested? Obviously we've seen what Dame's relationship is with his professional team, with Barcelona. And if you don't know, well, it didn't end up very well, because Barcelona never gave Dame permission to go to the Nike Hoop Summit, and he left anyway. And so they've kind of professionally decided that, they're not going to be connected anymore. Dame might have sights on the NBA draft, and, maybe he's good enough. I don't necessarily know if I've seen enough from him to think that he's ready for the NBA level. He's the proper age So, I mean, he could absolutely qualify for the NBA draft. But if he was coming to the Illinois roster next season, I would have been genuinely excited to have him as one of our best players. But I don't know if he's just developed enough for the NBA level. And ultimately, I'm just going to repeat myself. Like, I know Dame looked like he was on a track to Illinois, but if Brad Underwood really did decide that, judging by his relationship that he had been building with Dame and Dame's team, that Andrej Stojakovic was the pivot, the guy that he really wanted to focus on, I think Brad made the right choice. And again, I know this is probably the last time I'm going to bring up Sarr's name on the show, but I'm going to be very curious to see, at least, again, I'm recording this on Wednesday night. So as of now, he has not committed to Kansas yet, but I would be shocked if Dame took an official visit to Lawrence, Kansas, and didn't commit to the Jayhawks. And if he didn't, then really, what's going on with this kid? That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and let me know in the comment section. Again, who is your biggest off-season pickup for the Illini? Is there a player on a different team, as we talked about in the second segment, that you think is going to do really well in the Big Ten and that you think I should start maybe scouting a little bit and talking about now on a different team? Regardless, just know I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in every single day. Definitely share this with any Illini fans in your circle. And until next time, ILL. Love you guys.